Every year, on the 9th of August, an entire island transforms into a sea of red and white. Flags hang from apartment blocks and office towers, fighter jets streak across the skyline, and millions of people pause to remember one improbable story: how a tiny island, with no natural resources and no obvious future, became one of the most successful nations on Earth. This is Singapore's National Day, a massive public holiday built around a spectacular parade, a landmark speech, and citywide celebration. Let's break down where it came from, what its symbols mean, and how a whole country comes together to celebrate it. To understand National Day, you have to go back more than a century. For generations, Singapore was a British colonial territory, a vital trading port, sitting right at the crossroads of Southeast Asia, where the ships of the world passed through. Then came the Second World War and the Japanese occupation, a brutal period that shattered the myth of colonial invincibility and left deep scars on the population. But hardship lit a fire. Out of those years came a powerful surge of local nationalism and a growing hunger for self-determination, for the right to run their own affairs. In 1959, Singapore finally won internal self-government from Britain. And here's a detail most people forget. Back then, National Day was actually celebrated on the 3rd of June, to mark that very first taste of self-rule. But the island's path took a sharp and unexpected turn. In 1963, Singapore joined the Federation of Malaysia, merging with its neighbors to form a single, larger country. On paper, union promised security and a common market. In practice, it exposed deep divisions, ideological, political, and economic, between Singapore's leaders and the federal government in Kuala Lumpur. Those tensions boiled over into racial riots in 1964, violence that tore at the fragile social fabric of the young nation. Fearing worse bloodshed, both sides reached a painful conclusion: that they simply could not stay together. And so, on the 9th of August, 1965, Singapore separated from Malaysia and became a fully independent, sovereign state. Founding Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew, alongside leaders like Law Minister Edmund Barker, drafted the separation agreement, thrusting the young country into an uncertain future, with no hinterland and almost no natural resources of its own. From that day on, National Day moved to the 9th of August. During the National Day season, the whole island turns red and white, and those two colors are woven right into the nation's identity. On the flag that hangs from nearly every building, red stands for universal brotherhood and the equality of all people. White represents everlasting purity and virtue. Beside them sit a crescent moon and 5 stars. The crescent is a young nation on the rise, full of promise. And the 5 stars each stand for an ideal the country was founded on: democracy, peace, progress, justice, and equality. It isn't just decoration. It's a compact, powerful statement of the exact values that Singapore chose to build itself around. The beating heart of the whole celebration is the National Day Parade, and it is so much more than a military display. It's a meticulously staged civic ritual, designed to inspire patriotism and to showcase the nation's defense, its readiness, and its cultural unity. Organized largely by the Singapore Armed Forces, preparation can span more than 6 months and involves thousands of performers, service personnel, and volunteers. The show follows a traditional flow. It opens with a high-energy pre-parade, community dances, choir performances, and crowd warm-ups that build the anticipation. Then comes the formal ceremony, with marching contingents from the armed forces, the police, the civil defense force, and school uniformed groups, all moving in crisp, practiced precision as the whole nation looks on. Then comes the moment the whole crowd waits for: the State Flag Flypast. A tradition since 1970, a giant national flag is flown right across the parade, slung beneath a heavy-lift Chinook helicopter, and flanked by Apache gunships in a tight victory formation. It is loud, emotional, and unmistakably Singaporean. From there, the spectacle only builds. Military aircraft thrill the crowd with daring aerial acrobatics. A precision drill squad shows off jaw-dropping rifle handling skills. Then a huge, colorful show segment takes over, celebrating the country's multicultural heritage with dazzling costumes, multi-ethnic dances, and sweeping multimedia displays. A brand new theme song is launched, the crowd sings the national anthem and recites the pledge, and finally, the night sky erupts in an island-wide fireworks finale. So where does all of this actually happen? The very first parade, back in 1966, was held at the Padang, a historic open field in the very heart of the city. Over the decades, it has moved from venue to venue, to the old National Stadium, to the sprawling waterfront float at Marina Bay, and back again, to the new National Stadium for the biggest, landmark celebrations. And wherever it's held, actually getting a ticket to attend live is famously difficult. Seats are handed out through an island-wide electronic ballot, a public lottery that is fiercely contested every single year by families hoping to be there in person. About a week later comes a very different kind of event, the National Day Rally. Think of it as Singapore's version of the State of the Union Address. Held since 1966, it's delivered by the Prime Minister in all three of the country's main languages, English, Malay, and Mandarin. During the rally, the Prime Minister gives an in-depth review of where the nation stands, lays out the big social and economic challenges ahead, and announces major policy changes and long-term plans. It is often the platform where the government first shares its vision for the future, which makes it essential and closely watched viewing for citizens, investors, and community leaders alike. But National Day is never only about the big televised events. At its core, it is an intensely community-driven celebration. Out in the heartlands, in the housing estates where most Singaporeans live, community centers and residence committees host local carnivals, live screenings of the parade, and grassroots performances. There's the beloved fun pack, handed out to attendees, filled with snacks, nostalgic memorabilia, and things to wave during the show, and redesigned every single year. Food, as always, is central. Families gather to eat at hawker centers, over special festive menus, or around home-cooked heritage dishes. And in the spirit of giving, many people use the season to organize charity drives and to volunteer, supporting those who have less. So why does one day carry so much weight? Because National Day is more than a holiday or a history lesson. It is the glue that holds a diverse, multicultural society together. It offers a dedicated moment for people to reflect on the immense sacrifices made by the generations before them. And it reaffirms the values the country runs on: social cohesion, meritocracy, and racial harmony. The idea that a diverse population of different races and faiths can not only coexist, but genuinely thrive, united under one shared flag. Every year, the celebration renews that shared identity and the collective resolve to face whatever comes next together. You can even trace the nation's changing mood through its music. The earliest National Day songs in the 1980s were upbeat, patriotic jingles, tracks like Stand Up for Singapore, Count on Me Singapore, and We Are Singapore, many written by the very same hand, and designed to get an entire country singing together. Then, in 1998, came a turning point. A song called Home, performed by Kit Chan, was written not for the parade itself, but for a national sing-along campaign, and it resonated so deeply, especially with Singaporeans living far from home, that many now consider it the country's unofficial anthem. Since then, the songs have grown quieter and more personal, trading loud patriotism for reflection, emotion, and the simple feeling of belonging. And if you want to catch the fireworks in person, here is the locals' guide. They are launched over the Cowling Basin, and there are several excellent and completely free vantage points around the water. Cowling Riverside Park gives you open sight lines straight across the basin. Tanjong Rhu Promenade is quieter and tucked away with a clean, direct line of sight. Bay East Garden frames the fireworks beautifully against the city skyline. And Marina Barrage is a breezy, rooftop favorite with sweeping panoramas. The main display usually runs between about 8:10 and 8:25 in the evening, with shorter previews on select Saturdays through July and early August. The tip: arrive by 7 to claim your spot and take public transport because the crowds are enormous. From a reluctant, uncertain beginning to one of the world's great success stories, that is what this island celebrates every 9th of August. It is a story of survival, of unity, and of a small nation that simply refused to fail. Majulah Singapura. Onward, Singapore. Happy National Day. If you enjoyed this deep dive, follow along, and we'll see you in the next one.